Hey, so here we are in reading 15, and Roxy and I, we're kind of thinking, we're wondering, poor Ivan, this is pressure time for him. He's got his plan, and is he going to get his plan to work? You're worried, aren't you, Roxy? Yeah, she looks so worried about that. And so, yeah, you do, sweetheart. Yeah, you do. What a good baby. What a good baby. Yeah, we're worried about Ivan pulling it all off. Remember, Mac snuck one of the pages from under the pool where Ivan was hiding them, and that made Ivan worried. So we will find out what happens to Ivan's plan, huh? Here we go, Roxy. Reading 15. It starts out with the subtitle, Nervous. All day long, I knuckle walk circles around my cage. I'm so nervous, I can't nap. I can't even eat. Well, not very much anyway. I'm ready to show Julia what I've made. It has to be Julia. She's an artist. Surely she'll truly look at my painting. She won't notice the smudges and the tears. She won't care if the pieces don't quite fit together. She'll see past that. Surely Julia will see what I've imagined. I wonder. I watch Ruby trudge sullenly through the 4:00 show, and I wonder, what will happen if I fail? What if I can't make Julia understand? But of course, I know the answer. Nothing will happen. Ruby will remain the main attraction at the Exit Big Top Mall and Video Arcade, conveniently located off I-95. Shows at 2, 4, and 7, 365 days a year, year after year, after year after year. And Ivan knows that. Remember, 27 years at the Big Top Mall. Next subtitle is called Showing Julia. It's time to show my work. The mall is silent, except for Thelma the Macaw, who is practicing a new phrase. Julia's finishing her homework, and George is sweeping outside, and Mac has gone home for the night. I grab knot tag and carefully pull out the folded papers. So many paintings, page after page, piece after piece of my giant puzzle. I pound on the glass, and Julia glances over. Fingers trembling, I hold up one of my paintings. It's brown and green, a corner piece. Julia smiles. I display another piece, and then another, and each one a tiny part of the whole. Julia looks confused. But what is it, she asks. She shrugs. It doesn't matter. It's pretty just as it is. Says Thelma. No, I think no. It does matter. Yikes. Next subtitle is called More Paintings. George calls out to Julia. He's done for the night. Grab your backpack, he says, and hurry, it's late. Gotta go, Ivan, Julia says. Julia doesn't understand. I have to find the right pieces. I dig through the pile. They're here somewhere. I know they are. I find one, another. I try to hold 4 of them against the glass. Bob, I say, help me hurry. Bob grabs the paintings with his teeth and drags them to me. One by one, I shove the pictures through the window crack. They crumple and tear. There are too many pieces. My puzzle's too big. Careful, Ivan, Julia says. Those might be worth $1 million someday. You never know. She arranges the paintings in a neat stack. I suppose Mac is going to want to sell those at the gift shop. She still doesn't understand. I shove more out the hole, and more, all of them, one after another. So Ivan's been painting, has he? George says as he puts on his coat. A lot, says Julie with a laugh. A whole lot. You're not taking all those home with you, are you? George asks. I mean, no offense to Ivan, but they're just blobs. Julia thumbs through this towering stack of paintings. They might not be blobs to Ivan. Let's leave those by the office, George suggests. Mac will want to try selling them. Although why would anyone pay $40 for a finger painting, a 2-year-old could do. I don't know. I like Ivan's work, Julia says. He puts his feelings into them. He puts his hair into them, George says. Julia waves goodbye. Night, Ivan. Night, Bob. I press my nose against the glass and watch her walk away. All my work, all my planning, wasted. I look at Ruby, sleeping soundly, and suddenly I know she'll never leave the Big Top Mall. She'll be here forever, just like Stella. I can't let Ruby be another, one and only. Yikes. Listen to the next subtitle. Chest beating. Uh-oh. Often, when visitors come to see me, they beat their hands against their puny chests, pretending to be me. They pound away endless as wet wings of a new butterfly. The chest beating of a mad gorilla is not something you ever want to hear. Not even if you're wearing earplugs. Not even if you're 3 miles away wearing earplugs. A real chest beating sends the whole jungle running as if the sky is broken open, as if men with guns are near. Next subtitle is called Angry Thump. The sound, my sound, echoes through the mall. George and Julia spin around. Julia drops her backpack. George drops his keys. The pile of pictures go flying. Thump, thump, thump. I bounce off the walls. I screech and bellow. I beat and beat and beat my chest. Bob hides from under Nante, his paws over his ears. I'm angry. At last. I have someone to protect. Yikes. The next subtitle is called Puzzle Pieces. After a long while, I grow quiet. I sit. It's hard work being angry. Julia looks at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. I'm panting. I'm a little out of shape. What the heck was that? George demands. Something's really wrong, Julia says. I've never seen Ivan act this way. He seems to be calming down, thank goodness, George says. Julia shakes her head. He's just upset, Dad. Look at his eyes. My pictures are scattered all over the floor like huge autumn leaves. What a mess, George says, sighing. Wish I hadn't bothered sweeping tonight. You think Ivan's okay, Julia asks. Probably just temper tantrum, George says. He reaches under a chair to retrieve a brown and red picture. Can't say I blame the guy stuck in that tiny cage all these years. Julia starts to answer, but then she freezes. She cocks her head. She stares at her feet with the pictures in disarray. Dad, she whispers, come and see this. I'm sure he's another Rembrandt, George says. Let's pick these up and get going, Jules. I'm exhausted. Dad, she says, look, seriously, look at this. George follows her gaze. I see blobs, many, many blobs, along with an occasional swirl. Please, can we go home now? There's an H, Dad. Julia kneels down, straightening one picture, and then another. That's an H, and here she grabs more pictures. Put this one here, and I don't know, maybe that one. You have an E. George rubs his eyes. I hold my breath. Julia's running now, and she picks up one picture, sets down another. It's like a puzzle, Dad. There's something. It's a word, maybe pictures, and a picture of something. A giant picture. Jules, George says, that's crazy. But he's looking at the floor, too, wondering from picture to picture and scratching his head. H, Julia says. E, O, O. Julia chews her lip. H, E, O. And that looks a lot like an I. H-E-O-I? George writes in the air with his finger. I-E-O-H. Not the letter, an actual I. And that's a foot, or maybe a tree and a trunk. I think that's a trunk. Jules runs to my window. Ivan, she whispers, what did you make? I stare back across my arms. This is taking much longer than I thought it would. Humans. Sometimes they make chimps look smart. Think about that one for a while. Ooh, next subtitle's called Finally. Julia and George take the pictures to the ring where there's room to see them all, and an hour passes as they try to assemble my puzzle. Ruby's awake now, and she and Bob and I watch. Ivan, Ruby says, is that a picture of me? Yes, I say proudly. What am I supposed to be? Or where am I supposed to be? That's a zoo, Ruby. See the walls and the grass and the people looking at you? Ruby squints. Who are all those other elephants? You haven't met them yet, I say. That's a very nice zoo, Ruby says, with an approving nod. Ruby nudges me with a cold nose. It is indeed. In the ring, Julia pumps her fist in the air. Yes, she cries, I told you, Dad. There it is. H-O-M-E, home. George gazes at the letters. He spins around to look at me. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Jules. You know, a 1 in a trillion kind of thing? Like the old saying about the chimp and the typewriter. Give him long enough and he'll write a novel. I make a grumbling noise, as if a chimp could write a letter, let alone a book. Then how do you explain the rest of it, Julia demands. The picture of Ruby in the zoo? How do you know it's a zoo, George asks. See the circle on the gate? There's a red giraffe in it. George squints and tilts his head. Are you sure that's a giraffe? I was thinking more along the lines of a deformed cat. It's the logo for a zoo, Dad. It's on all their signs. Explain that. George gives a helpless smile. I can't begin to. I'm just saying there has to be a logical explanation. Look at how big this is, Julia puts the last of Ruby's ear in place. It's huge. It's definitely large, George agrees. Julia watches me. She chews on her thumbnail. I see the question in her eyes. She turns back to the paintings and stares at them, looking, truly looking. A slow smile draws on Julia's face. Dad, she says, I have an idea, a big idea. Julia races around the edge of my painting, her arms spread wide. Billboard big. I'm not following you. I think this is meant to be on the billboard. That's what Ivan wants. Julia crosses his arms over his chest. What Ivan wants? He repeats slowly. And you know this because you two have been chatting? Because I'm an artist and he's an artist. Says George. Julia clasps her hands together. Come on, Dad, I'm begging you. George shakes his head. No, I'm not doing that. No billboard, no way. I'll get the ladder, Julia says. You get the glue. I know it's dark out, but the billboard's lit. That will fire me, Jules. Julia considers. But think of the publicity, Dad. Everyone knows about Ruby. You want me to put up a sign that shows Ruby in a zoo with the word home on it in giant letters? George gestures toward my pictures. A sign, incidentally, that just happens to have been made by a gorilla? Exactly. And you want me to do it without Mac's permission, George asks. Exactly. No, George says, no way. Julia goes to the edge of the ring, careful not to step on any of my paintings, and she picks up Mac's claw stick. She walks back and hands it to my father. George runs a finger on the blade. She's just a baby, Dad. Don't you want to help her? But how would it help, Jules? Even if lots of people see Ivan's sign, it doesn't mean anything's going to change. I'm not exactly sure yet, Jules. Julia shakes her head. Maybe people will see the sign and they'll know this isn't where Ruby belongs. Maybe they'll want to help too. George sighs. He looks at Ruby. She waves her trunk. It's a matter of principle, Dad. Principal. L-E, George corrects. Dad, Julia says softly, what if Ruby ends up like Stella? George looks at me, at Ruby, at Julia. He drops the claw stick. The ladder, he says quietly. in the storage locker. Oh my gosh, that is exciting. That is the end of reading 15. Wow, who knows what will happen? What will it look like on the billboard? What will happen? Whoa, lots of predictions, questions, thoughts. Here we go.